All right, so our next presenter is Mark Skousen. He was recently named one of the top 20 living economists in the world. He has been a presidential fellow at Chapman University in California State since 2014 and has a unique distinction of having worked for the government, CIA, nonprofits, president of FEE, and several for-profit companies. In 2004, Dr. Skousen taught economics and finance at the Columbia Business School and Columbia University. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Skousen.
Thank you very much. Can you all hear me in the back? Oh, fantastic. So I have not heard all the presentations. I did hear one of the speakers here on the panel say, you need to pursue your passion. I have heard this all my life. I have been able to pursue my passion, but let me tell you, let us be frank. Most of you will not be able to pursue your passion. You might as well get used to it. In today's world, you take what you get. You don't often have a lot of choices. Now, you do have a choice of what your major is. And you should, as an ultimate goal, pursue your passion. No question about that. But getting there is going to take time. And you have to be willing to do everything and anything to get to the point where you can pursue your passion. I've just been reading William Shatner's latest biography, and he talked about all the different kinds of jobs he had to do in order to become a recognized actor, a successful actor. That was his passion. That was his goal. But along the way, he had to serve people in restaurants. He had to be a janitor for a while. He had to pursue things that was not his passion. But he did them because he knew that that was his path to success. So my passion has always been to teach sound economics to students. I still teach today. I've taught at Columbia University. Certainly that was a passion that I wanted to pursue, to reach the point where I could teach at one of the top Ivy League schools in the country, and I achieved that goal. But along the way, I had to teach at a lot of smaller colleges. I even taught for 15 years at Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. One of the finest schools in Florida. But it's not known nationally like Columbia Business School is. But I had a great time, and I really enjoyed, in particular, teaching students who were pursuing a degree later in life because they had that passion, that desire to achieve a certain goal in life. And so they were working during the day, and then I would teach them in the evening with evening courses, which is a fantastic opportunity. So remember, the passion is there, you want to do it, but don't think you can just immediately achieve your passion right away. It's going to take time, and there's going to be a lot of detours on the way. So that's an important principle. Now, I don't know if we have a PowerPoint presentation. Is that set up at all to work on? Do we have something? Oh, right in front there. Okay. All right, so do I have a clicker or something that I can... right here. Let's see here. Green button. Okay, so there we have Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin, who I think is one of the great heroes of the foundation of our country. Benjamin Franklin taught 3 great principles which, if you follow in life, you will be eminently successful. It's industry, thrift, and prudence. Industry, thrift, and prudence. Now, most of us don't have a problem with industry. Most people work hard and work smart, and that is the best thing that you can start off as a young person. The second one is much more difficult. The concept of thrift, the concept of living within your means, the concept of saving on a regular basis. One of you asked about joining an investment club. Well, to join an investment club, you have to have saved some money that you can invest. And it's so important to do that. But it's very difficult for young people. I have a book that's called The Maxims of Wall Street. Here's a copy of it right here, The Maxims of Wall Street. And one of the maxims of Wall Street is that the hardest thing in the world for young people is to save and for old people to spend. And it's a very important lesson. One of the reasons that young people have a hard time saving is because saving is for the future. Saving is for retirement. Who wants to set up a 401k plan, money that you will not see until you're 55 or 65 when you finally retire? And meanwhile, also, many of you, most of you, when you work, you have that huge sucking sound. And the sucking sound is coming from Washington, D.C., and it is sucking all your savings out of your hard-earned income, and it's going to Washington in the form of Social Security and Medicare taxes. Up to 15% of your money that you're being paid goes to Washington automatically every time you are paid. And so there's your savings. It's gone. And the rest of it you have to survive on with rent and so on, and paying of student loans. Student loan is one of the biggest rip-offs this country has ever engineered. And sadly, the federal government is responsible for it because they call it financial aid. Now, in my time, financial aid was a grant that you didn't have to pay back. But student loans you have to pay back. In fact, you can't even file for bankruptcy now. They've changed the law, so you have to pay this back. When I was a young man, I did every job imaginable. I applied to every scholarship, every grant, so that I could avoid student loans, and I was able to do so. But it took a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I'm not saying that you can do exactly what I did in that respect. But you want to minimize your student expenses. Somebody asked about whether they should go to the top school, top liberal arts college, the top Ivy League schools. Well, if you're on scholarship, that's great. But if you're not, it's much smarter for you to take a very inexpensive undergraduate program that doesn't cost very much money. A community college for the first 2 years. Take that, relatively inexpensive, and even an online university is fine. The key to success in opening up doors is when you graduate, and particularly graduate school. That's when you might want to go to the prestigious university. But I will tell you, in the real world, most employers could care less the school you graduated from. What really matters is, can you perform? Can you make money for the company? Can you save them money by cutting costs? Can you come up with a new production process? Can you come up with a way that increases their bottom line? If you do that, it doesn't matter whether you went to Harvard or Rollins College. It doesn't matter. Performance is what really matters in the real world. So you should do everything you can to keep the costs down, to keep those student loans to a minimum. Heck, I'll give you a strategy that most of you may not know about. Every one of you in this room, this advice, how much did you pay for this conference, by the way? Zero. All right. So I'm giving you something that's worth thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. Anybody taking notes? All right. write down this. Harvard, I'll just leave it at that. Harvard. Every one of you in this room could be going to Harvard University and qualify to go to Harvard University in the next semester. By show of hands, how many of you believe what I just said? You know something that the others don't know? Maybe you're really smart and you qualify to go to Harvard. But I'm saying that every one of you in this room could raise your hand and say, I'm going to Harvard. You know how to do it? Okay, this is worth thousands of dollars. This is not Trump University. I'm telling you something that actually works. All right. Every person in this room could qualify to go to Harvard University. You know how to do it? You start off with Harvard Extension School. Harvard Extension School is open to every person in this room. There are no qualifications except a high school graduation. There are no limits. You can get a 4-year college degree program from Harvard Extension, and it is just as equal to a regular Harvard college degree. They even have their own graduation ceremony. And you can start tomorrow by applying online. You can take something like 30 courses online, and you can tell your fellow students right next to each other, I'm a Harvard student. Take that. And it's relatively inexpensive. It's only a fifth of a regular Harvard degree. Now, how many of you think that's worth a little bit of money to know that? Every hand should go up. The rest of you, you're pursuing your dream. I know you're pursuing your dream. Okay, so anyway, that's just a little bit of information that you might be interested in. Just go online and look at Harvard Extension, take a look at the situation. I've never told anybody this in my newsletter, never promoted. I tell it to small groups. This is really too large of a group to tell it because I don't want it to end. At some point, it's going to catch on, and Harvard Extension is going to have to limit the number of people that can apply to Harvard. All right, so thrift is really important, the idea of savings. An automatic investment plan, AIP, for those of you who are taking notes, an automatic investment plan is a great way to go. I envy all of you young people because you have the incredible opportunity to take advantage of the great wonder of compound interest. The stock market, dividends, it's a great way to go, and certainly you can invest on a regular basis. Here's the great thing about automatic investment plans. Let's suppose that after you attend MoneyShow University, you're saying, oh my gosh, I am so excited. I want to start investing. I want to start saving. I want to start building financial independence. And I want to start right now. So the next time you get a paycheck, how many of you are working right now? How many of you have a job? Okay, quite a few of you have hands up. So you're being paid every 2 weeks, say. And you can put money aside in an automatic investment plan, which is a great deal. But if you decide to save, you get that money, you get your paycheck, and you say, I listened to Skousen, I listened to the others, I've decided to start investing. So if you're paid once every 2 weeks, then you make a decision to save or not to save once every 2 weeks. So how many times do you decide to save or not save a year? How many times? Anybody have an answer? 26. Correct, 26 times. You decide save or not save. Do you think that during that 26 time period, 26 times, that maybe a couple of times you're going to say, I really can't afford to save this time. Maybe I'll stop my savings program. I'll think about it next time. I guarantee there will be emergencies. There will be expenses that will come up that will stop you from saving. Contrast with the automatic investment plan, where you sign up and money is taken out of your paycheck automatically every 2 weeks. Then how many decisions do you make to save per year? Once, the first time you signed up. You got to catch up here, Coach. You're a little bit slow here. All right, once, and then you make that decision. What's the benefit of AIP? Number one, you're adding to your investment account every time you're paid. Number two, any interest or dividends that you earn add to your account. And number three, if you have any capital gains, that adds to your account. You put all those three together and you're likely to, every time you open up your statement once a month, you can say, oh my gosh, I have more money in there than I thought. It's an incredible feeling. I remember one person putting $1,000 into Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway fund in 1965 when it got started. That person is worth $3-4 million today. But let me tell you, it is so tempting to take that money out along the way and spend it. And so you want an automatic investment plan that maybe doesn't do that. The Roth IRA is a great way to go. You put the money in, you can take the money out, but you get a penalty until you're age 55. So it just kind of encourages to keep the money in. But you can take it out if you need an emergency or if you need to buy a house, you need to start a business. Make sure it's for investment purposes rather than just buying the latest car. So that would be my recommendation. Start investing, and then how do you become a great investor? We talk about investing, how important investing is. How do you become a great investor? Well, you start investing. You just pick your stocks and you start investing. So that's my strategy there. You will learn the tricks of the trade. I've been doing it a lot of my life. This book, The Maxims of Wall Street, is a great way to learn how to invest. It's got a lot of one-line statements that are very deep, very profound. And it's got a lot of biting humor in it. For example, how do you make $1 million? I've got several listings. How do you make $1 million? Number one, start with $2 million. That's a possibility. How do you make $1 million? Start with $900,000. That works, because then you only are 10% away from making $1 million. A little bit cynical there. How about this? How to make $1 million? Marry a millionaire, or better yet, divorce one. And then the best one is for real estate investors, for those of you who buy homes. How do you make $1 million? Borrow $1 million and pay it off. And that's what a mortgage is. And as long as that house goes up in value, and houses are going up in value again, then you can do well. But don't ever think that there's a guaranteed investment. Don't you ever think that you buy a house and you are guaranteed to make money. A lot of times, I've heard that mantra many times as an investment advisor. There are bull markets and bear markets, rising markets and falling markets. Doesn't matter what the category. They all move up and down, and it's a good time to look for those opportunities when things are relatively cheap or the trend is moving up. By the way, anybody heard the definition of obscene profits? This is from my book. The definition of obscene profits is something you always hear about, but never experience yourself, sadly. That's meant to be humorous. That's right. Okay, so the final category is prudence. Prudence. Or by the way, on investing, I should mention this. The Richest Man in Babylon is another book that I would recommend in addition to my own. I quote from it quite a few times in the Maxims of Wall Street. The Richest Man in Babylon. In old Babylon, there once lived a certain very rich man named Arcad. Far and wide, he was famed for his great wealth. Also, he's famed for his liberality. So he's not a miser. He was not a Scrooge. He was generous in his charities. He was generous with his family. He was liberal in his own expenses. But nevertheless, each year his wealth increased more rapidly than he spent it. So that gets us back, if I could go backwards, the third principle. Anybody remember what it is? Prudence. Prudence. You see, if you live within your means, no matter how successful you are, you'll never run into trouble. But it's very dangerous when you become successful that you overextend yourself. You buy the bigger house, you buy the bigger home. You get in over your head and you run into trouble. That's the danger. So you always want to be prudent in your investments and prudent in your debt. There's nothing wrong with taking on debt per se if you have the earning power to pay off that debt. There's nothing wrong with companies who leverage their position in a business as long as they have the earning power to pay the expenses, the interest on the debt, and a little bit more. You want to have that cushion. That's really important. By the way, if you have questions, go ahead and line up, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have. So, debt as a consumer is much more problematic. I have no problem buying a house with a mortgage, as long as you have income sufficient to pay that mortgage payment. And that should be your first payment once a month. But you don't want a situation where you get involved with, like in the subprime loan crisis of 2008, when individuals and students, lots of people bought homes, but they didn't have the capability to pay the mortgage, that monthly mortgage. You don't ever fall behind on that monthly mortgage. But borrowing money, I see students all the time using credit card. Debit card's fine. Debit card comes out of your checking account fine. But using a credit card to make food purchases at 7-Eleven, you're making a mistake. And especially to buy lottery tickets. That's even worse. I remember an individual, I saw him at a 7-Eleven in Winter Park, who came in and plucked down $100 for lottery tickets. And afterwards, I asked the clerk, I said, what is the deal with this guy? $100 worth of tickets, Florida lottery. He said, well, that's his investment program. I said, well, that is a great way to lose money fast, because every time he put that $100 up, he lost. Your chances of winning the lottery are extremely small. Much smarter if you went and bought penny stocks. Or even if you went to play the roulette wheel, at least you have a 50-50 more or less chance of winning there than you do with buying lottery tickets. So that was a major blunder on his part. It was an imprudent action. So be careful about debt. Buying a car, buy a used car. Used cars today are far superior than the used cars of my day when I was your age. Today, used cars are really good cars. So why should you pay that high sticker price? So I would generally try to maintain a cash position with used cars. And then in terms of prudence of starting your business and running things, be very careful. You don't want to get in your situation in bankruptcy. I know many people, a man who spoke at this conference in the past, who was an investment advisor, advising other people how to manage their money. He had a promotion out there that said, can you afford to be without this man's advice? And the answer is yes. Because he was one of those people who was extremely successful. His promotion was so successful that he had 250,000 subscribers at one point. He had so much money, he was buying houses, he was buying new cars, he was taking trips all over Europe and so forth. But to him, money was like water. Couldn't hold on to it. It all fell apart and he went bankrupt twice. And today, very few people have heard of him. It's a sad story. You want to be more like the richest man in Babylon. That's a book you all ought to read, The Richest Man in Babylon. Okay, so we got some people lined up. You have some questions?
Ishan Gandhi, and I wanted to ask 2 questions. One, you said how to take maybe an online class or online scholarship, online college, but the reason why I was asking is you don't get connections from that. You don't meet new people, and I know you said education's huge, but I thought it was a lot about people you know. How much does that actually help the people you know versus the knowledge?
Yeah, I agree with you. Online is not for everybody, but it's certainly great for military people who are in Iraq or something. A lot of them take online universities, so it's a specialized situation that may or may not apply to your situation. I agree very much about connections, and internships are a fantastic deal. Whether you're paid or not is immaterial. Take advantage of any intern situations that arise. And when you become an intern at a major brokerage firm or a Wall Street firm or other business, make sure you don't just do your job. To go the extra mile, and also seek out mentors. That's very important, because many people, if you're proactive in the intern type of situation, that will be a great way for you to potentially open up and get a new job situation.
My second question is, it said you were in the CIA. How much did that actually help your career? How much did having a military background, did it help with regiment? Did it help with connections? What really did it help you with?
CIA is a great thing to have on your resume. Out of 250 applicants, I got the job. And I got the job because I lived in Latin America for a couple of years and I spoke fluent Spanish. They immediately put me on the Brazil desk. They speak Portuguese, in case you're wondering. So that gives you an idea of how screwed up the CIA was. I lasted a couple years. It was not my passion, if you will. The CIA was a fantastic opportunity outside of the CIA to tell people I was a CIA agent, but I didn't get to have the phony passport. I didn't get to carry a gun. I didn't get to play games that you see on TV like I Spy and that sort of thing. So I applied for another job as managing editor of a financial newsletter, and boy, now you're talking excitement. Now you're talking about a revolution that was occurring in the 1970s and even continuing to this day. So I applied for a job for an investment newsletter, and out of 250 applicants, I got the job. And you know why I got the job?
Because of the CIA, or?
It did help. CIA did teach me how to write, which was important. That was valuable. No, the boss, Bob Kephart, said, "Skousen, you are the only one who knew a participle from a predicate." So I ran home to my wife and I said, "Sweetheart, I got a new job. It's very exciting in the private sector, but I have one question for you." She was an English professor. "What's the difference between a participle and a predicate?" So anyway, you take advantage of whatever situation you have. CIA was not something that was particularly beneficial to me. It has been beneficial in terms of contacts and connections with a lot of Washington types, which I've used. I'm the only newsletter writer that has a PhD in monetary economics, which the CIA partially paid for, which I really appreciate. That was really valuable. So anyway, and the connections were very good with the CIA. There's no question about that.
Thank you so much.
All right, good. Next question.
Hi, my name is Samantha, and I would like to know, do you think it's good to invest in a small company when they're just starting?
Is it good to invest in a small company that's getting started? Yes, if it's your company. If it's someone else's company, it's a private placement. It's a pre-IPO deal. I've done probably 20 or 30 of these in my lifetime. Made money on 2 of them. Made a lot of money on 2 of them. Well, that's 10%. Your chances of making money are very slim unless it's your own business. But if you're talking about joining up and say, here's $5,000 for a small business, your chances of making money are extremely slim. Start your own business, or better yet, invest in other people's successful businesses, not pre-IPO, but post-IPO in the stock market itself, and you're likely to make money. I mean, you're going to get a 10% average return, even investing in the S&P 500 over a long period of time. And if you keep adding to it, you're going to profit from compounded interest. It's going to be difficult for you to not become a millionaire. It's really going to be the best way to go. Not everyone is set in life to be an entrepreneur, to start your own business and so on. I really disagree with Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Man, Poor Man, which basically belittles the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, his poor dad who worked for the government in Hawaii and had a 401k plan and that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with that. People can be very successful working for other people. You don't have to be an entrepreneur and run off and start your own business. It's suitable for a minority of individuals. Okay? Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay. I wanted to show you one other thing. Okay. It's a great quote from Steve Forbes. Everyone is a disciplined long-term investor until the market goes down. J. Paul Getty, the big profits go to the intelligent, careful, and patient investor and not to the reckless and overeager speculator. John D. Rockefeller, do you know the only thing that gives me pleasure? Not my wife, not my kids, not my friends. It's seeing my dividends come in. Rather callous view of life, don't you think? Not sure you want to show up like John D. Rockefeller. So I have this thing about automatic investment plans. I mentioned again, you add your account monthly, all interest, dividends, and distributions are automatically reinvested. You capture capital gains on stocks and bonds. This is also the great principles of the investment club, so I like that recommendation. This is a picture of me with Warren Buffett, richest man, most successful investor in the world. And he's a big fan of my book, The Richest, not the Richest Man in Babylon, The Maxims of Wall Street. So I do have copies available. I do not believe in free books, but I will offer you a discount. So if any of you students are interested in purchasing a copy of the book, we'll be out here, and they're available for only $10, half off price. And I thought you'd get a kick out of this. This is a picture of me with Donald Trump. My wife and I, notice where his hand is. I thought you'd like this. So I do a conference called Freedom Fest, and we do offer a special rate of $99. Kim Githler is a big fan, and she helped me get started Freedom Fest. And George Foreman is our keynote speaker this year. Not Donald Trump, but George Foreman. So he's really good. So I always end my talk with my students by talking about money. And I have in my hand an American Eagle silver dollar, which has all the great symbols of America. It says it has Lady Liberty, it has the rising sun, Ben Franklin's favorite symbol. It has In God We Trust, it has the eagle on the back, it has symbol of the 13 colonies, everything that we would hold dear as Americans. Now, how many of you have seen one of these things before, an American Eagle silver dollar? You know how many of these were minted last year? 50 million of these were minted last year. And yet the vast majority of you have never seen one before. In fact, I showed it to Alan Greenspan. He had not seen one. I showed it to Newt Gingrich. He hadn't seen one. I showed it to Larry Summers, Secretary of the Treasury. He had not seen one. These are their own program, and they have never seen, because they sadly are hidden away in a safety deposit box. 50 million of these waiting for Armageddon. And so then they'll come out and be used. But it's a coin that I keep on me at all times. It gives me good luck. I've been more successful as I have kept this coin in my pocket as a good luck charm. And so I encourage all of you to get a American Eagle silver dollar. And just by a show of hands, who would like one of these silver dollars? Who would really like one of these silver dollars? I mean, it just seems like a lot of you aren't interested in doing this. Is there anyone who would really like this silver dollar? The first man to get up here, but I kind of think that here's another woman. Wait a minute, let's see it. Wait a minute, I may possibly have a second silver dollar. Yeah, why don't you both come up here? All right, and I'll present you also with the silver dollar. Very good. Now, what is your name?
Edward.
Edward and?
Brianne.
Edward and Brianne. I want you to be looking at two people who are really going places in life. Because even though a lot of you raised your hand, only these two students really, and several others obviously came up, and maybe you've seen this exercise before. But I congratulate both of you. And remember, there's a lot of money out there, folks, but you can't wait for it to come to you. You have to go out and get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you.